Protests continue to rage on in Sri Lanka as another day comes to pass. Good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News on TV1. Today is the 18th of April 2022. I am Jayama Ratnayaka for the Newsfirst team. Here are your headlines for tonight. 17-member cabinet and 21 state ministers appointed. Sri Lanka could have sought IMF support earlier. Decision to ban chemical fertilizer was a mistake. President admits.
Ada පවතින මේ අරුබුදය ඒ ජනතාව ඉල්ලපු මේ සිස්ටම් චේන්ජ් එක කරන්න හොඳ අවස්ථාවක්.
Prime Minister to submit proposal on constitutional amendment. Party leaders discuss abolition of the 20th Amendment. Opposition leader places faith on no confidence motion. Determined citizens continue demonstration in Colombo. Medicine shortage worsens. Doctors issue warning.
අගකීම හරියට ඉටු කරන්න ඕන රජය විසින් රෝගීන්ගෙන් සහ ජනතාවගෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටින්නේ පුළුවන් තරම් ප්‍රවේශමෙන් මේ දවස්වල පුළුවන් තරම් රෝගී නොවි අනතුරු වලට භාජනය නොවි සිටින්න නැතිනම් රෝහල් වල තත්ත්වය ඊතරම් සතුටුදායක නැති බව තමයි කියන්න තියෙන්නේ.
In our top story for tonight, a new cabinet of 17 ministers took oaths before President Gotagogama Rajapaksa this morning. Speaking to the newly appointed cabinet, President Gotagogama Rajapaksa said Sri Lanka could have sought the support of the International Monetary Fund earlier. He also admitted that the decision to ban chemical fertilizer was a miscalculated one.
Dinesh Gunawardena as the Minister of Public Administration, Internal Affairs, Provincial Councils and Local Government, Douglas Devananda as the Minister of Fisheries, Dr. Ramesh Pathirana as the Minister of Education and Plantation Industries, Prasanna Ranatunga as the Minister of Public Security and Tourism, Dilu Mamunugama as the Minister of Transport and Industries, Kanaka Herath as the Minister of Highways, Vidura Vikram Nayaka as the Minister of Labour, Janaka Vakumbara as the Minister of Agriculture and Irrigation, Shehan Semasingha as the Minister of Trade and Samurdhi Development, Mohan Priyadarshana De Silva as the Minister of Water Supply, Vimala Veera Disanayaka as the Minister of Wildlife and Forest Resources Conservation, Kanchana Wijasekara as the Minister of Power and Energy, Tenuka Vidanagamage as the Minister of Sports and Youth Affairs, Dr. Nalaka Godaheva as the Minister of Mass Media, Professor Channa Jayasumana as the Minister of Health, Nazir Ahmed as the Minister of Environment, Pramita Bandarathenakon as the Minister of Ports and Shipping. The President's Media Division said the ministerial portfolios held by President Gotagogama Rajapaksa, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, Foreign Minister Professor G.L. Piris and Finance Minister Ali Sabri remain unchanged.
I have appointed new ministers to the cabinet disregarding seniority. A cabinet portfolio is not a privilege. It's a massive responsibility. I am requesting you not to obtain any special privileges just because you're a minister in the cabinet. What I expect from you is to remain committed to honesty, efficiency and clean governance. I want you to run ministries in a way that they are free of corruption. Many government departments are in a financial crisis at the moment. We must take measures to rectify this. The current economic crisis is a good opportunity for us to change the system based on the people's demands. You have been given that opportunity. I am asking these young ministers to work towards that cause.
තමුන්නාන්සලට අවස්ථාව ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. ඒකම මම ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා මේ තරුණයන්ගෙන් ඒට උපකාර කරන්නට කියලා. දන්නවා ජාත්‍යන්තර මූල්‍ය අරමුදල සමග වැඩසටහනකට මීට පෙර යන්න තිබුණා කියලා මම විශ්වාස කරනවා.
I believe we could have gone for a program of the International Monetary Fund a little earlier. I feel that the failure to provide chemical fertilizer to farmers was a mistake. We have taken steps to provide that again. The people are facing several issues due to the economic crisis. I express my regret over that. The grief and the anger of the people who are burdened by the rising cost of living and have to stand in queues to purchase essential is reasonable.
ජනතාවට අත්‍යවශ්‍ය භාණ්ඩ ලබා ගැනීම සඳහා පෝලිම් වල කාලය ගත කිරීමට සිදුවීමේ නැතිවන වේදනාව අසහනය හා කෝපය ඉතාමත්ම සාධාරණයි.
21 new state ministers took oaths before President Gotagogama Rajapaksa today. The appointments are Professor G.L. Piris as the State Minister of Defence, Rohana Disanayaka as the State Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government, Arundika Fernando as the State Minister of Plantations, Lohan Ratwatta as the State Minister of Urban Development, Tharka Balasuriya as the State Minister of External Affairs, Indika Anuruddha as the State Minister of Housing, Sanath Nishantha as the State Minister of Water Supply, Siripala Gamlath as the State Minister of Mahaweli, Anuradha Jayaratna as the State Minister of Irrigation, Sisira Jayakodi as the State Minister of Indigenous Medicine, Prasanna Ranavira as the State Minister of Industries, D.V. Chanaka as the State Minister of Tourism and Fisheries, D.B. Herath as the State Minister of Livestock, Khadamastan as the State Minister of Rural Economic Crop Cultivation and Promotion, Asoka Priyantha as the State Minister of Trade, A. Aravind Kumar as the State Minister of Estate Housing and Community Infrastructure, Geeta Kumarasinghe as the State Minister of Culture and Performing Arts, Gunapala Ratnasekara as the State Minister of Cooperative Services, Business Development and Consumer Protection, Kapilanuwan Atukorala as the State Minister of Development of Minor Crops Plantation, Dr. Gaisha Navananda as the State Minister of Health, and Dr. Suren Raghavan as the State Minister of Education Services and Reforms. Moreover, Diana Gamage was appointed the State Minister of Transport, Sita Aramapola as the State Minister of Education and Technology, and Vijitha Berugoda as the State Minister of Ports and Shipping.
Award-winning actor to join Galle-Face protests.
More crowds continue to flock to the protest site opposite the President's office in Colombo. They are demanding the resignation of the government, including the President, while also calling for democratic reforms. We are now joined by Ahmed Bouzo for News First, who is currently at the protest site.
The protest stage by the general public continues opposite the President's office as crowds gather here in Galle-Face. Now, as you can see, we have protesters protesting on either sides of the road, and this has caused a traffic congestion here in the Galle Road. We also can see volunteers walking around this protest site, helping and supporting these protesters by providing them with food, beverages, medicine and sanitary. So this is a current situation here in the Galle-Face Green.
Human resources community of the private sector also joined the protest.
And we, as HR practitioners of this country, want a couple of demands. Firstly, we want the government to take a look at the 20th Amendment and repeal it. And then we want the 19th Amendment to be enacted. And the presidential should be abolished. And the power should be transformed to the parliament system. And that's what we all want.
Large crowds gathered at the demonstration site at Galle-Face even after the long holiday last week. Protests took place opposite the President's office today as well. The Satyagraha launched by the IT engineer Lalit Nandakumara Hevaratna was called off this morning. Sachit Maduranga, who bagged silver in the javelin throw event at the 2013 Asian Games, launched a 24-hour Satyagraha afterwards.
As athletes, we proudly represented Sri Lanka on the international arena. However, given today's situation, we are unable to proudly say the country's name. How can athletes who are coming after us represent the country? Therefore, all of us must unite.
Cyclists from Katana arrived at the demonstration site opposite the President's office today.
These rulers are not leaving. It has been 10 days. They are not stepping down or introducing a solution to this through the parliament. We love this country. We have no place to go. We have no money as well. These rulers must step down and let someone capable take over. If we don't step up and save our country, who will?
Individuals from different sectors, including artists, intellectuals and professionals, were at the protest site today. We are not carrying sticks or stones. We came here unarmed. We don't have stolen money. We love our country. No one can fight against the people with pure hearts and win. I would like to urge everyone to not arm themselves. If they slap you, offer them the other cheek. As long as we keep our hearts and intentions pure, no one can stop us. The differently abled and people with special needs also joined the protest. War veterans who joined the protest yesterday continued the demonstration today as well.
As war veterans who are disabled, we are demanding the people's request be met and provide a solution to the prevailing crisis. We hope the rulers would pay heed to the woes of the youth and eradicate corruption and thuggery to guide the country towards prosperity.
We want change. We want young leaders in power who has education.
We need you to come out and talk to us and address this problem and give us solutions. What can be done?
The Rajapaksas should resign. If Gotabe is giving a ministerial portfolio to my father, he won't accept it. That's how much we don't trust the Rajapaksas. The Rajapaksa family and the associates must step down. Give us this country so that we can fix it.
We don't need rulers who don't pay attention to the people. The people of Sri Lanka are sensitive. They will forgive anyone. They must confess their crimes and give this country back to us.
Dissent is being expressed through various means at the protest site dubbed Gotagogama. The protest site includes a library, a zero plastic hut, a petition signed to garner the attention of the United Nations, and an outdoor theatre. Meanwhile, powerful lights were set up at the premises of the President's office to disrupt projectors from lighting up the building.
Prime Minister's office says Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa is to table a cabinet proposal calling for a new constitutional amendment. A statement signed by the Prime Minister's media secretary Rohan Balivita said the amendment would cover the executive, legislature and the judiciary. The statement said the Prime Minister has directed his attention towards calls from various factions to form a government that is accountable to the people. A team of lawyers backing the government, including President's Counsel W. Dayaratna and Razik Zaruk, met with the Prime Minister today. According to the Prime Minister's office, the lawyers had pointed out that the President can't be removed through the Constitution as claimed by the protesters. They had said an organized group is backing the struggle without a proper understanding of the Constitution amidst the problems faced by the people. They had raised suspicion that an organized group is attempting to destabilize the country by pumping funds for that purpose. The statement quoted the lawyers as saying politicians have to shoulder the burden of corruption involving state officials who are not transferred periodically like public representatives.
The Fort Police today informed the Colombo Magistrates Court that it would inform the court if peace is disrupted during protests at Golface demanding the resignation of the President and the government. The submission was made in a report submitted to Colombo Additional Magistrate Harshana Kakunwala today. The Fort Police has informed court that the large crowds gathering at Golface has affected the movement of vehicles along that road. It's clear that they are trying to remove these protesters from this area by obtaining a court order. The legal fraternity is vigilant about the witch hunt that is being carried out against these protesters. They haven't made submissions to court through a B report. If submissions are not made through a B report, then it means that no crime has occurred and that there is nothing like that. But the government is making submissions to court and attempting to remove the protesters from the demonstration site. We wish to tell the protesters to not be afraid of anything. There is a massive group of lawyers who are with them. If the government forcefully attempts to disperse them even by a court order, there is no doubt that it will go down as a tragedy. If the magistrate asks for a B report, we as lawyers will be ready to oppose it. That is the message for those involved in the struggle at the protest site.
නීතිඥ ප්‍රජාව මේ මොහොත වෙනකොට කටයුතු කරන බව අරගල භූමියේ ඉන්න ඒ වීරෝදාර අරගලකරුවන්ට අපි මේ මොහොතේ මේ පණිවිඩය මාධ්‍ය මගින් දැනුවත් දෙනවා.
Protests were organized across the country today demanding the resignation of the President, Prime Minister and the Cabinet of Ministers. A demonstration site dubbed as a branch of Gotagogama was set up in Kandy today. The protest was held despite attempts by the police to halt the demonstration.
ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂට අවධාරණයෙන් කියනවා නම්බු පිටින් බැහැලා ඵලයන් කියලා.
අපේ රටේ ජනතාව හැම
The people are asking for the government to be chased away. The Rajapaksa family has destroyed this country. The poor don't have fertilizer or diesel. The cost of diesel was increased by 75 rupees last night. They are enjoying a life of luxury.
Protests were held at the demonstration site dubbed as the Gold Branch of Gotagogama. People joined the protest in large numbers, demanding the government to resign. A young citizen held a protest at the Dambula town in solidarity with the ongoing protest.
Amend the constitution in a way that it doesn't allow people above 60 years to become parliamentarians. It must also be amended to prevent siblings from being in parliament.
More young people joined the protest later.
The youth of Kandy organized a protest demanding the president and the government to resign and hand over the government to capable hands. This protest, organized in solidarity with the protests at Golface Green, is continuing for the 4th consecutive day.
We don't want any more corruption in this country. We have had enough of it. I think the Rajapaksas need to go home and leave us alone.
All you old folks in the parliament step down from the parliament and give the country to all the young people.
Asking the government to stop this pathetic joke that they are doing with our future and just resign Gotagogama Rajapaksa and give us our stolen money back.
Meanwhile, Sri Lankan expatriates continued their protest in solidarity with their fellow Sri Lankans at home today as well. Protests were staged in Berlin and Dusseldorf in Germany.
Deswegen stellen wir uns heute lautstark hinter unsere Brüder und Schwestern in Sri Lanka und sagen, Gota, go home.
Sri Lankan actor Hirana Besekara, who won the Best Actor at this year's Olivier Award ceremony for his portrayal in the production of Life of Pi, returned to the country today. He said he will support the ongoing demonstrations at Galle Face.
මචන්ලා ඔන්න ආවා අපි හම්බ වෙමු ගෝල් ෆේස් එකේ. අනිවාර්යයෙන් මේක තමයි ආවේ. නැත්තම් එන්න උන්නේ නැහැ.
Otherwise there is no reason to return. This is a time in which I must be happy about my award, but that happiness is covered in dark clouds. I genuinely felt that I must join the protests here. That is why I came here.
කතා කරා එන්න ඕනේ කියලා. ඉතින් මා ආවා.
News First with the people.
Army Commander General Shavendra Silla says the Sri Lanka Army would not take steps to harm peaceful protesters. He made these remarks during a ceremony to mark the commencement of work following the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. The Army Commander had stressed that the Army should maintain its professional dignity and move forward by withstanding any criticism levelled against them. He had pointed out that the Army is a force committed to protect the state and its people all the time according to the Constitution. More news follows after this short commercial break.
Tech Bus, launched to increase the tech know-how of Sri Lankan students, concludes on a successful note. Organized by Slit Institute.
Tech Bus.
Main sponsor.
Slit Knowledge University. Challenging convention and redefining education.
නිවෙස පුරා ගලන මේ සතුට සුරක්ෂිත කරන්නේ Eslon Insight. Eslon ජීවයයි ජලයයි ජීවිතේ.
Welcome back to the news. People's protests continue to erupt from many areas of the island. One such demonstration was held in Negombo today.
People in Negombo marched from the Galkanda junction to the Negombo main bus stand to add their voice to the protests. They carried coffins during the protest march that was held this evening.
Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, says Sri Lanka's social system must be strengthened to a point where even the president can be penalized by the law of the land.
අතිපූජ්‍ය ත්‍රිනිකායික මහානායක ස්වාමින් වහන්සේලා ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කළ ප්‍රසිද්ධ ලිපිය තුල අඩංගු කරුණු.
Issuing a letter, the chief prelates of the three sects pointed out that the current government must step down and that an interim government must be established. Therefore, we cannot accept the new cabinet that was appointed by the president, disregarding that request. This is merely an illusion. It does not fulfill the demands of the people. Switching ministers is similar to switching pillows for a headache. Medicine must be given for an ailment. The legal system must be strong and independent enough to hold the political authority accountable for its crime. This new system must eradicate corruption. A strong anti-corruption committee must be appointed to punish and remove the civil rights of anyone who is involved in corruption. Therefore, we request all party leaders to unite and work to achieve this instead of trying to secure and protect power. If they can't do this, they must resign. If they can do it, they must do so within a democratic framework. If this administration disregards these factors and continues to deceive the people, they should resign and mind their own business. The president must be accountable to the law. A social system that can even punish the president must be created in Sri Lanka. This does not apply only to this president.
කරුණා කරලා අයින් වෙලා යන්න වැඩක් බලන්න. නීතිය ජනාධිපතිතුමාට උඩින් ඉන්නට ඕන. ජනාධිපතිතුමා වුණත් නීතිය කඩකළොත් එතුමාට වුණත් දඬුවම් කරන්න පුළුවන් සමාජ ක්‍රමයක් හදන්නට ඕනේ ලංකාව. මේක මේ ජනාධිපතිතුමා ගැන පමණක් නෙවෙයි.
Investigations have now revealed that the government has lost 16.7 billion rupees by slashing the import tax on sugar. These findings were confirmed in an investigation by the National Audit Office despite repeated denials of any irregularities by the government. The Auditor General has recommended the government to immediately recover the revenue that was lost by reducing the import tax on sugar between the 14th of October 2020 and the 8th of February 2021. The report observed that the quantity of sugar brought down by one importer had increased by 1,222% during this period. Chairperson of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, retired Supreme Court Judge Rohini Marasinghe, drew her attention towards this report today. She advised the government to implement the recommendations of the National Audit Office. The Commission has the mandate to intervene into this matter under the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka Act No. 21 of 1996. The chair of the Human Rights Commission had said the unreasonable and arbitrary use of state power can violate the rights of Sri Lankan citizens, and therefore the recommendations need to be implemented.
The Colombo Magistrates Court has issued an order extending former Central Bank Governor Ajit Niwad Cabral's travel ban until the 2nd of May. Cabral, who failed to appear in court on the 7th of April, has been ordered to appear in court on the 2nd of May. Colombo Additional Magistrate Harshana Kakunwela issued the order while considering a petition filed by former Governor Kirti Tennakoon accusing former Central Bank Governor of 6 charges. The Colombo Magistrates Court rejected a request to impose a temporary travel ban on former Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa and former Secretary to the Ministry of Finance S.R. Ratigala. They are among the witnesses to the petition filed against the former Central Bank Governor over the settlement of international sovereign bonds worth $500 million. Healthcare professionals are repeatedly warning of a medicine shortage that has affected Sri Lanka. The Government Medical Officers Association says there is a shortage of more than 250 drugs at present. It will take around 2 months to overcome this shortage. They begin production of medicine only after payments are made. We discussed this with the State Minister Channa Jayasumana and tabled our proposal to the Health Ministry. But we don't see enough measures being taken. We can survive without fuel for some time, but people can lose their lives if there are no life-saving drugs. Therefore, we believe that funds must be released to import these medicines. But we feel even the Ministry of Health is disregarding the gravity of every minute that is crucial to us.
මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඉතාමත්ම තීරණාත්මක හැම විනාඩියක්ම අපිට වැදගත් වෙන කාල සීමාවකදී ඔවුන් ඉතාම නිදහසේ මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඉතාමත්ම සරලව සිතන බවක් සමහර විට අපිට පේන්න තියෙනවා.
මේ තත්ත්වය ටිකෙන් ටික වැඩි වෙගෙන යන ස්වභාවයක් තමයි පෙනී යන්නේ.
We can see that this problem is continuing to aggravate. There is a small supply of some medicine. However, we haven't received new stocks to be used when the existing stock runs out. There is a shortage of medical equipment as well. The government must find funds required to import medicine. Otherwise, we would be severely affected by the shortage of this over the next 2 weeks. The government must fulfill its responsibility properly. We ask the patients and the general public to remain vigilant of their health over the next few days. The situation at hospitals isn't favourable.
වාජනය නොවී සිටින්න නැතිනම් රෝහල් වල තත්ත්වය ඊතරම් සතුටුදායක නැති බව තමයි කියන්න තියෙන්නේ.
The shortage of fuel is continuing to worsen amidst the medical crisis in the country. Despite the shortage, Lanka IOC yesterday announced it would increase the cost of petrol by 35 rupees and diesel by 75 rupees. It's the sixth time they have increased prices in 5 months. Lanka IOC said it had decided to increase prices due to the continued depreciation of the rupee. This is dangerous. The sale of fuel is limited. The fuel stocks at present will only last for about 5 days. Those stocks aren't being released properly. There are 3 fuel tanks in the international waters. These include 2 diesel tankers and 1 petrol tanker. The $500 million credit line has not been used up completely yet. They have brought down 3 fuel consignments which are at sea now. People who gathered at a filling station in Kanthale demanded fuel by blocking the Colombo-Trincomalee main road. The police intervened to resolve the issue.
The people are suffering. Fuel isn't being sold for free. It isn't good to inconvenience the people like this. We brought this upon ourselves by voting for people like Gotagogama. Everyone is the same.
Filling stations in Dehiyata Kandy received fuel after about 5 days. Frustrated citizens blocked the Gaul Mathara main road in Valigama demanding fuel. Three people held a protest at the Anuradhapura main roundabout against Lanka IOC's decision to increase fuel prices. Long queues of fuel were seen in many areas today.
The Colombo Stock Exchange convened a media briefing this morning. CSE chairman spoke about the recent decision to temporarily close the stock market for 5 business days starting from today.
CSE does not believe that market should be closed indiscriminately. They should remain open and provide liquidity. But as I mentioned, when you think about the factors of a fair and orderly market, there are factors that are now in conflict with each other, right? If you remain open, we might undermine some of the other factors that create what is an orderly market. We had to make a decision. We had to make it early so that we were able to, and to make it fast, so that that investors in particular will have time to understand this.
Have you discussed or have you considered the foreign investors, because they want to kind of exit from the market? Now, since stock market is closed, the rupee market is not closed. Now, from last Tuesday to today, the rupee has depreciated by another 10 rupees. Right? So foreigners might want to kind of exit before it reaches 400 rupees. So did you consider this in your decision making?
When you think about investor protection, there are different classes of investors. There are, local retail, local high net worths, local institutions, and foreign individuals and institutions. Obviously, just to give you a sense, the market activity of foreign investors last year was about under 5% of total market activity. Local investors were about 95 or even a little bit more than that. Now, having said that, that is not to say that we don't care about foreign investors. They are a very important part of this market.
The 2022 spring meetings of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank begin in Washington today. The meetings will run until the 24th of this month. The meetings are attended by senior officials from various countries including central bankers and finance ministers. Matters relating to poverty eradication, economic development and aid effectiveness are among the topics discussed at these meetings. A Sri Lankan delegation led by Finance Minister Ali Sabri left for Washington yesterday for talks with the International Monetary Fund. This would be on the sidelines of the spring meeting.
News First with the people.
What caused a brawl at the Kunagala Pradesh Sabha?
More news follows on the other side of this short commercial break.
Tech Bus, launched to increase the tech know-how of Sri Lankan students, concludes on a successful note. Organized by Slit Institute.
Tech Bus.
Main sponsor.
Slit Knowledge University. Challenging convention and redefining education.
Welcome back to the news. A protest march held under the theme "Let's Dismiss This Cruel Government" was held from Wadua to Moratua today. The protest march held under the theme "Let's Dismiss This Cruel Government" was held for the third consecutive day today. Protesters were given a special welcome as they reached Panadura earlier today. This government is forming the cabinet of ministers in an unprofessional way. They formulate a cabinet and dissolve it a few days later. Making and breaking cabinets will not solve the issues faced by the people. The people are demanding an end to this corrupt family regime. My acting career was in jeopardy, but I am happy that I spoke out against the Rajapaksas in 2005. At the time, I said they looted money at times, but they have robbed the entire country now. This struggle led by the people has shown that politicians cannot loot our money anymore. They know that the people will stand up against all their wrongdoings. This struggle is by the people. This is a reasonable struggle that belongs to no party. We are here to build a just and fair nation. We demand a government that places the needs of the people ahead of their own. We are involved in this struggle today in support of all protests led by the people, not only in Galface but across the island. The protest march ended in Moratua today. It will recommence and reach Colombo tomorrow. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, who met with the Janata Balaya movement, has said his party is trying its best to ensure that the people's struggle becomes a reality in parliament. We do not have a majority. The opposition only has around 60 seats, but we are gaining as much support as we can and taking steps to propose an impeachment motion and present a no confidence motion. As the opposition, we will do everything we can to abolish the executive presidency. The 20th amendment must be abolished and a 19+ amendment must be brought to replace it. We will put forward a proposal to cut down spending for the president. We will set up a massive anti-corruption machinery to recover stolen wealth. We are ready to obtain proposals of the civil society for a healthy state administrative system. But if anyone is saying that the opposition is not doing this while having a majority, then that's wrong. We are trying our best to ensure that the people's struggle becomes a reality in parliament.
සංඛ්‍යාවක් තියාගෙන අපි නොකර ඉන්නේ නැහැ. අපි පුළුවන් පරිම උත්සාහය දරනවා ජන අරගලය පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ යථාර්ථයක් කරන්න.
The Parliamentary Party Leaders meeting was held today ahead of tomorrow's sessions. The need to address the shortcomings of the 19th Amendment and to propose a 21st Amendment immediately were among the matters that were discussed at the meeting. Speaker Mahinda Abewardena told News First that party leaders were informed to submit a bill containing the proposals of all parties. The Speaker told us that there is an opinion that the 20th Amendment must be abolished and that an amendment similar to the 19th one should be brought again. He asked whether it is appropriate to go for a new constitution by abolishing the executive presidency. I supported the Speaker's proposal. The Speaker told us that the government is ready to withdraw the 20th Amendment and to enact the 19th Amendment. We informed him that we would like to know what the amendments are. We will now have the opportunity to correct the mistakes like allowing dual citizens to enter Parliament. Therefore, we are certain that we will be able to implement it soon.
A brawl ensued at the Kurunegala Pradesh Sabha today, which resumed sessions after the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. A tense situation broke out between ruling party and opposition members during a meeting at the Kurunegala Pradesh Sabha today. Tensions arose after members of the United National Party raised concerns over a gravel pit in the area. This was how Pradesh Sabha member of the UNP Sanjay Atugala and Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna Pradesh Sabha member Asanka Ranasinghe resolved the matter after the sitting was postponed. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is expected to form a new cabinet today after a week-long delay amid deliberations on how to accommodate all coalition partners.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said the country's economy had stagnated under his predecessor Imran Khan, setting the tone for possibly months of bitterness before an election that must be held by October next year. But the new cabinet could not be formed as Shehbaz Sharif wanted to accommodate all his allies in the government. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan was ousted from his position after a no-confidence vote last week. The economic and political crisis that persisted under his governance were key for his removal, backed by a no-confidence vote.
And with that, we bring to a close tonight's edition of Primetime News on TV1. For the News First team, I'm Jayamal Ratnayaka alongside our sign language interpreter for tonight, Brian De Cruz. Do remember to take care, stay safe and have yourself a good night.